What is going on, guys? My name is Corbin, and welcome back to the ZigZag, your weekly, your favorite, the most controversial wrestling podcast on the planet. And I'm recording this a little later than usual. It is currently 5:01 p.m. on Wednesday. And the reason for this is because my first file, the audio was extremely corrupted, and I had already done the entire podcast. And before I went to class, I checked the video to maybe throw it in and edit it real quick. And the audio was so bad, it sounded like I was screaming at you guys, and it was constantly, peaking and crunching the audio. It sounded pretty terrible. So even now, I'm really concerned. So I just have it turned down. I just turned myself down again because it was even getting into that red point. And I just don't want that to happen again because I don't have time to film this 3 times in a day. But so this episode might end up being way quicker than I want it to be because I've already gone through all this. It's going to be a lot less of me thinking through stuff. Hopefully I can try and replicate it the best I can, all things considered. But, I don't really know what's going to happen, so I'm just going to fly through this. If you guys enjoy this kind of content, please go check out the ZigZag on all the other platforms, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, where to find it. So I want to thank you guys for joining. Let's hop right in. So first off, I just want to talk about main event as a whole. Obviously it is a precursor to either SmackDown or Raw nowadays, and it gets filmed and posted on YouTube on the occasion. I don't understand why people on the internet feel that main event is some sort of demotion. It's funny because I always see people online talking about Obafemi's on main event. They already dropped the ball with this guy. And it's like, dude, he's been on the roster for a month, 2 months. Let's maybe calm it down with all of that. Main event, the reason main event is here is so other superstars can have the ability to go wrestle a match in front of a live audience that will be recorded and televised so they can work on their craft at this certain time. This isn't there's NXT and SmackDown and Raw and AAA, and then there's main event. Main event isn't a brand. The main event is a precursor to a show to allow people to experiment maybe with different finishing moves, like we've seen from Kit Wilson. His new finisher, Men Cry 2, is what he calls it, and it's like this diving elbow. The first time we saw this was on main event. Main event is where you go out and you do stuff. You see how the audience reacts to maybe what you're doing. And do you see people that you don't see on TV normally, like an Apollo Crews, or fighting in matches like a Kit Wilson? Do you see, people like Cruz del Toro? Yes, this is where you see all those guys that don't get normal TV time, but it is a time to let people who are not currently on TV as much as others step in. It allows them to step in and get a platform for themselves whenever, they could just have nothing. It's better than nothing. So we need to get rid of this stigma around main event because it's not a demotion. It's more of a training thing. If anything, it's an opportunity for certain wrestlers to show what they have to offer. There are reports that Sol Ruca will undergo a character change and theme song change. And next to my note there, I do have a skull emoji because they better not screw this up. Sol Ruca, what she has going is already just absolutely perfect. The Soul Snatcher finisher, her, surfer theme, and then of course her theme music, which is literally surf vibe music. All of this together is perfect because it's Sol Ruca has the look of a Hawaiian surfer. She talks very nice. She has this just aesthetic to her. Now, undergoing a character change is fine. Every person needs a character change. Sami Zayn. But if you do it wrong, it can be very bad, which we have seen in the past. Who's undergone a character change that is just so incredibly bad, it ruins their career? Who could I possibly be thinking of? I don't know. If you can think of someone, please tell me down below. I would love to know. But I want to see if you can think of the person I'm thinking of. Put it down in the comments. I'll see if you're right or not. So she's going to undergo a character change. That's fine. But is it going to be maybe just Sol Ruca, maybe just a little bit edgier? Like we see with someone like Liv Morgan who kind of moved up, and they told her that she needs to be a little bit edgier. She needs to grow up, which in those standards, WWE is telling you to show off your body more, which is sad that they have to tell women superstars to do that, and they tell people to do that. But the sad truth is that is what pulls in views, and that's what they care about. So Sol Ruca kind of give it, growing up a little bit, quote unquote, could be what they're looking for. But the theme song change, if Def Rebel does the Def Rebel thing and just torches her theme song, I'm going to be pissed. And honestly, out of anybody on the internet, I might be the biggest Def Rebel defender. If we're being honest, I enjoy a lot of their theme songs. The problem is they take some theme songs like Bailey, for example, and they do this thing where they they cut the music out, and it, she has that thing where it goes, role model, and then it re-kicks up her theme music. That sucks. If you have Kit Wilson's where it dials up the phone, it's like, hey Kit, are you there? And then it kicks off into his theme music. That's fine. But sometimes they just do this thing where they try and add like an ad lib, and it just doesn't work. Blakeman Rose is perfect too. Because it actually leads into the song well, but there are some that just don't work, and they add in that like crunchy Def Rebel vibe where it sounds like they just ripped a whole bunch of loops off GarageBand, and it's not good. So I just hope they do not just torch her theme song, and they need to keep that same surfer vibe, very mellow. Maybe what they could do is kind of do like a rock surf kind of vibe. That would fit well. But I'm afraid I don't want them. Sol Ruca does not fit the rap, which is what Def Rebel is known for in ruining theme songs. They do this weird rap style that just wouldn't work for someone like Sol Ruca, so I hope they stay away from that. First of all, we're going to cover NXT. NXT this week was insane. I want to kick it off by talking about the Vanity Project. Vanity Project comes out and wins the freaking NXT tag titles. I mean, who would have thought? Whenever I was looking at this match, I was like, oh, we're feeding another team to Dark State. That's fine. The Vanity Project has done, a great job. I like them a lot. You have Brad Baylor, and I looked it up earlier. Ricky Smokes, I believe is the other one's name. I'm like, they're doing fantastic alongside Jackson Drake, who is the quote unquote leader of the group. And, in such short time, it's great that they had the opportunity at the titles. But they came out and they won. I couldn't believe it. Of course, Jackson Drake gets involved, which, but I mean, they still picked up the win. I thought it was really cool. I don't know what's next for them. I believe Dark State's going to go after Tony D'Angelo because he is the one who got involved and all that stuff. But props to them for winning the NXT tag titles. And they've only been on NXT for 1-2 months? Incredible from them. Zarya turns on Sol Ruca. What does it mean for these two? That was a great turn. I thought, having Sol turn around, and then she hits her with the spear, the F5, and then, of course, JC Jane with that incredible rolling encore finisher. Absolute cinema. I really do enjoy JC Jane's character, and the more I watch her, the more I actually am starting to like that rolling encore, and Sol sold the absolute hell out of it as well. So it looked great, and the whole turn itself, turning on Sol, and then Sol participating in the match and immediately losing in less than 10 seconds, I feel like is a great way to kickstart the feud between Zarya and Sol. What does it mean for these two? Here's the path I'm seeing. I'm seeing Zarya and Sol go into this big full-blown feud together. It ends at the next PLE or the PLE after. And I think it ends with Sol Ruca going to the main roster and Zarya winning the championship from JC Jane. I feel like that would make more sense. I think Zarya, or another possibility is Zarya wins it actually, no, I don't think she wins it next week, because Sol Ruca is getting involved next week to make sure that Zarya's title is, taken out of the picture, which is just further elevating the feud for these two. But if Zarya were to win that match, you could have Sol now chasing Zarya for the championship, which could be a cool, a cool angle, but you're not going to get that. Sol's going to get involved, make sure Zarya does not win that championship. And originally, I thought these two were going to move up together, but I don't think Zarya is not ready. I'm not saying that. I think that Sol needs to win the feud and then go up to the main roster. I think that Zarya could do a lot of good with a championship reign down in NXT before coming up. I feel like she needs that championship run to fully find herself before coming to the main roster, whereas Sol Ruka has found herself. She's going to come to the main roster and she should immediately, I honestly think, challenge for the Intercontinental Championship, being do a thing with Becky Lynch, and that would be incredible just because the two are obviously masters of two different crafts, and I feel like Becky could really teach Sol Ruka the things that Sol doesn't quite know yet and kind of get her integrated as well. So Sol Ruka could really benefit from winning the Intercontinental Championship against Becky Lynch. So I think that'd be a good move after, of course, these two have their heel run. Man, what a bad week for Canada. 0-3. Lost to the USA twice. Go Oil. Go USA. And then Ethan Page loses to Miles Bourne. That's incredible. I was so happy. First of all, I want to give Ethan Page his props. Ethan Page has done beyond an incredible job putting the North American Championship on the map. He really did make it relevant. I mean, he held the title for 273 days, and along with that, he fought consistently all the time. He put together these great feuds, great matches. He was just a dirt heel. I mean, there's nothing to complain about with Ethan Page. He was absolutely incredible. And what does this mean for him? It's main roster time. I've been saying to send Ethan Page to the main roster, but I think this is your chance. It's right now. And what do I think? Obviously, we're going to get to this in a little bit. With the Bronson Reed bicep tear, I could see Ethan Page joining the Vision. You already have the heel persona. He already would fit in with the group super well with, Austin Theory and Logan Paul and Ethan Page. They are all very similar, but different in their own ways, because you have Logan, who is just like a douchebag kind of character that he's playing. Austin Theory is a overly confident, having something to prove character. And Ethan Page is honestly Logan dialed up to 11. But Ethan more has this thing of, I can talk crap and back it up. So I feel like he would fit in the Vision super well. And because they're down to two guys, they need another person to help them stay like that powerful faction. Like, having two is fine, but then you're just a tag team with Paul Heyman. If you added someone like Ethan Page, you could really see a cool angle be created out of this. And now you have three, which I feel like makes you a faction. The three plus Paul Heyman. And then whenever the other two come back, you now have a 6-man faction. I don't fully know what they would do at that point. That might be 5-man plus Paul Heyman, but you know what I'm saying. That might be a little much. I'm not fully sure, but I think an Ethan Page would really fit in well, and it's something that the Vision needs because it's looking bad for them at the moment. Miles Bourne, of course, like I just said, wins the championship. His finisher, the Born Again, which is just a zigzag, it looks better and better every time I see it. The first time I saw it, it looked terrible, and I was like, oh, why is he doing this move? It's a disgrace. Just saw him, he kicks Ethan Page into the turnbuckle, bounces his head off of it, hits a picture-perfect zigzag. Couldn't be happier for the dude. He's 90% deaf. And he reads people's words out of their mouths, and he uses, whatever resources he has available to cut these great promos. And he even talks like the amount of of things he has to go through to be able to be in the WWE is incredible. If you're a person with disabilities, like, this guy is genuinely your hero. What he is doing is incredible. He is not letting his disability get the best of him and ruin his dreams, and that's so inspirational in my opinion. So shout out Miles Bourne, dude. We got a Would You Rather. This says, would you rather main event WrestleMania 40 and lose, or open the show and win in 30 seconds? So this is pretty easy, low-key, because I think winning any show in 30 seconds is absolutely ridiculous. I'm talking about Kofi Kingston versus Brock Lesnar back at whatever WrestleMania that is. I think sometimes it's okay to have, but on a big stage like WrestleMania, to have a 30-second win or anything like that. Even the Sheamus versus Bryan, oh my gosh, I almost said Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan. I think I still don't even like that one, and that's the best that you could get for a short match. I feel like if you're going to put two people in WrestleMania, you need to let them just go at each other and give the fans a real show. So I would rather main event WrestleMania, put on a great performance against someone like, I don't know, like Dominic Mysterio or a Finn Balor, and then lose, rather than open the show and win it in 30 seconds. My next note, I don't remember why I even put this here, but I just said Jacob Fatu has aura, and I mean, he just does. But is his feud with Cody leading to Cody versus Jacob at WrestleMania? I believe so. The only way I don't see it just being a one-on-one is if it's like a four-man, fatal four-way for Drew's championship at Mania, which I could also see happening, which I might talk about a little bit later once we get to the predictions. But I don't understand why they have this storyline where it's like, I think Drew McIntyre attacked Jacob Fatu and put him out for a while, but then he's attacking Cody for some reason. Jacob is, so it's kind of a weird thing, but the feud that they have rolling right now is pretty solid, and I think it might just elevate with Elimination Chamber right around the corner this Saturday. So that's kind of just one thing to keep in mind. And this is kind of just backing up exactly what I was just talking about. Why haven't they revealed who attacked Jacob? I felt like they were doing this angle where it was kind of like Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair and Naomi from last year, where you were looking at it and it was supposed to be a who attacked Jade. And eventually, of course, we find out that it's Naomi who ends up attacking her. And they were kind of doing that. And then all of a sudden they stopped and they kind of just completely ignored it. I don't know why they've waited so long. Maybe this is something where they just had to drop it for some unknown reason, but it's just kind of weird that they haven't made reference to it after those first couple weeks that Jacob Fatu came back. Drew McIntyre might be the ultimate rage baiter. This dude has the night off, and what does he decide to do? He goes up into a press box, grabs a mic, and starts talking crap from up all the way up in, the high up press box. That was really funny. And, Cody's going to fall for any sort of rage bait. So, he gets pissed, kind of lights that feud a little bit more, but that kind of leads to Elimination Chamber. And I'm just not sure Cody's going to end up winning that. So I think WWE needs to focus on Jacob versus Cody, but might be wrong. Tama Tonga versus Ilya Dragunov was the next match, and someone's got to tell this dude Ilya that it's not real. It's not real, bro. This dude, every single match, is bloodied by the end of it. He is just, laying it out 100%. All the moves he does are incredible, and he looks like he's trying to kill the other dude 24/7. And he always says, pain will entertain you. We get it, bro. He looks like he breaks his nose or cuts his eye open or does something every single time he's out there. And the WWE doesn't blade anymore. So it's not like he goes down the ground, he cuts himself open. This dude's literally just going so hard that he ends up making himself bleed one way or another. And then at the end of the match, we see Tama Tonga beating Ilya Dragunov, and I feel like they're giving Tama a great solo push at the moment because they're trying to make him the enforcer of, the MFTs, which I still hate that name because everybody says the MFTs, or sometimes they say MFT, it's My Family Tree, just change the name. I'd much rather it just be like Solo Sikoa and others. That's almost better than what they're doing at the moment. But Tama Tonga getting the win is cool because they're giving him like a really good solo push. And along with that, they're making his finisher look extremely deadly, which it is cool. It's just a hidden blade, but the WWE a little bit worse version. So I think it's cool that he's picking up a win against Ilya. I wonder if he's actually going to end up challenging for the U.S. Championship at some point. But what they're doing between these two, I like quite a lot. Another thing I'm enjoying a lot is Randy versus Karrion Kross. Aleister Black. Totally, that's what I meant. So, Aleister Black is trying to bring out the 2009 Randy Orton to compete with Cody Rhodes, and I actually enjoy this angle. I like this angle because this is Karrion Kross's gimmick, and after he was let go, they just gave it to Aleister Black along with Zelina Vega. So, literally all of Karrion Kross's stuff is just been handed to Aleister Black, and I think it's just pretty unoriginal from the WWE. I think it's pretty stupid they let him go in the first place, but I digress. Him trying to bring out 2009 Randy, and he's talking about like, I want you to punt kick him. I want you to do all this stuff. It's a cool angle because I personally want Randy versus Cody at Mania because those two have very similar styles, and similar styles always end up putting on great matches. I mean, look at like whenever Io and Asuka or Io and Kairi go against each other, they have that Japanese strong style type of wrestling, and it's always a great match. So I wouldn't be mad at this, but I like how they're using Aleister Black as this kind of like mind-turning character to create this different angle of the story. Next, we have the Women's Chamber qualifier over on SmackDown, and I'm going to give props where it's due. If you guys listen in, if you watch, you guys know I hate Charlotte Flair. I think she sucks. In every aspect of the game, I think she sucks. But I'm going to be honest. She looked good in that last match. She surprised me. She surprised me in the women's qualifier. Her moves looked on time. She looked like she was having more fun in this match instead of being like super serious. But it don't matter because Kiana James qualifies for the Chamber, which was my pick. That's who I wanted to win the entire time because she's way better than Charlotte and she's way better than Nia Jax. I mean, give me a break. And it's cool to have like all this young talent down in the Elimination Chamber, like Javon Evans, like Trick Williams, and then now, of course, you have Kiana James, who also hits Nia Jax with a Samoan drop. She's got some serious power. She's got the body. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. Kiana James is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the near future. But just praise God they didn't put Charlotte in this. And what's funny enough is this is really random because I would have actually bet the house that Charlotte was going to win this match because Nia's doing her own tag team thing. Kiana James is just like the backup to Julia. Is Julia's backup for the U.S. title, and Charlotte Flair has this thing with Alexa Bliss, and she's in the match, and they're trying to build that up. So Kiana winning was probably one of the best surprises of the year so far, without a doubt. Oba Femi and Kit Wilson have another moment together. I believe it's their final moment together because I think Oba's going to go on to bigger and better things. But Kit is reading poetry to Oba and says, from feminist to feminist, and then is talking about like moisturizing and learning how to listen to females or something like that. It was pretty stupid. And to wrap it up, Oba Femi just kills him, basically. Tosses him over the ropes, hits him with a little fall from grace, and that's that. But just bear with me now. In 10 years' time, maybe these two don't have anything going for them in the WWE. What if they formed a tag team? Would that not be funny? Some dude who talks about like matcha and quarter zips and women's poetry and stuff like that, and how guys need to learn to listen to women. And then you pair them together with the ruler, Oba Femi. I think it'd be pretty damn funny, personally. but who knows? But where do these two go from here? I think Oba might challenge Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania because we're getting that open challenge thing. And then Kit Wilson's just gonna get beat up. That's his job. He's just gonna go get beat up by someone else. Hopefully he has like a big feud with like, I don't know, Matt Cardona or something like that. Who knows? And then to turn it around, we get my favorite woman on the roster. Chelsea Green is back in her wheelchair being wheeled around SmackDown all night. And she goes out to cheer Alba, and I still can't get over this. Alba Fire is wrestling in a suit. In like a suit and corset. I don't understand how you would even do that. I can't work out with a sweatshirt on. I got to take it off eventually. So being able to wrestle an entire, I think that match was like 10 minutes probably, an entire 10-minute match with a suit and corset on is extremely impressive. And I think it sucks because she's so damn good in ring. The problem is she doesn't have a very good fan connection at the moment. So Alba's kind of relying on Chelsea to help bring up her fan status, which I believe is working. But I want these two somewhere down the line to win tag gold. I feel like that would be so good for these two, and they're working in like these different gimmicks, with throwing the newspapers everywhere, and they're constantly talking trash on TV. I just feel like these two together as tag champs would be pretty perfect. Cody and Sammy have this wild backstage like segment that feels like very real, all things considered. Cody says, "You don't take advantages of things that drop into your lap. The only thing in your way is you," which is 100% correct. Sammy's tried to tell Cody that he gets like every advantage and every, gift given to him, and like all these things, all these title shots given to him, which I think is not fair, because if you look at it, in context, Cody used to be Stardust, which is actually probably one of my favorite gimmicks of all time, but it's because it was such a bad gimmick that he made work, and then of course he leaves, goes on the indie scene, joins AEW, and eventually comes back and is now that top guy, which he more than deserves. Sami Zayn has had a ton of opportunities. He just always screws them up. So I thought this was cool. And to wrap it up, Sami goes and apologizes to Cody, and the fans were booing him out of the building, because I think everybody wants Sami to have a character change, and him potentially turning heel would probably benefit him a lot, which I think is what a lot of people want. It's what I want for him, because I think he's boring. So that could be something that happens. I don't quite know. But after that, Trick Willie going to the chamber. Mr. Lemon Peppa Steppa. He defeats Damian Priest and Carmelo Hayes. Do I think he could win this? Could Mr. Lemon Peppa Steppa win the Elimination Chamber? I think it's a possibility. And if he doesn't, where does he go? So he's not my pick to win, but it would not shock me if he ended up winning. You couldn't have made a wrong choice in this match. You either had to pick Trick Williams, who's amazing, Damian Priest, who we've seen in Chambers before, and he's incredible, or Carmelo Hayes, your U.S. champion. I mean, pretty obvious that that's like three guys that can just go at it, and they're all great. So I think if Trick Williams doesn't win the chamber, he's going to win the U.S. title from Carmelo Hayes. They kind of planted that seed when he actually pins Carmelo. And then along with that, U.S. title kind of just seems like it's already set up. So what are they going to do with Johnny Gargano? I have no clue. I keep seeing this comment, just what are they going to do with him? I really don't know. Because right now he's kind of just lounging around backstage being all depressed, which is funny in the moment. But I want WWE to actually do something with him, actually give him a strong singles push, because he's so good. And he also has the fans behind him as well, which, I mean, if you go back and watch Elimination Chamber 2023 for the U.S. title, people are absolutely backing Johnny Gargano. So Don't just have him be like depressed and then like let him go, because that's like a super WWE thing to do. Hopefully they don't do that. But again, I'm not in the writer's room and I wish I was. So Randy Orton versus Aleister Black is the final match. And at one point, Randy, gets up the hanging DDT and he yells, "Whoop that trick," before it hits him with the DDT. I thought it was pretty funny. That he said "whoop that trick." It's just so random, because that phrase is being thrown around everywhere right now. I mean, it was being chanted on Raw last week. It's super over as a whole. So, and then these two are like good partners together, kind of like what I was talking about earlier. They have a similar style, and then all of it leads to Drew McIntyre attacking Randy Orton. And I think this kind of starts a feud between these two. And is this the angle for Mania? I'm not quite sure. I wouldn't be mad about this. I wouldn't be mad at getting Drew versus Randy at Mania. I think they pair really well together. But I don't think it'll be just Drew and just Randy. I feel like this is a championship match that's going to potentially be Drew, Randy, Cody, and Jacob all together, because they're all intertwined. They're all intertwined because Drew just keeps attacking random people whenever he wants to, just to aura check them and Mog or something. I don't know. But it would be pretty funny. And because Drew gets involved, we see, of course, the Black Mass finisher, which is like one of my favorites. It just looks absolutely insane. But kind of a weird angle that they're doing, because they're building up all four of these guys, but only one is supposed to face Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. I just don't really know exactly where they're going with it. We got another Would You Rather. Would you rather beat John Cena in his prime or end the Undertaker's WrestleMania streak? I mean, that's easy. I hate John Cena. I'd beat John Cena in his prime. Absolutely. The Undertaker's streak never should have ended in the first place. I feel like once he got up to a certain number, especially losing to Brock Lesnar, I remember watching that as a kid. I was devastated. I just felt like at that time it wasn't right. The only person I actually accept beating The Undertaker is Roman Reigns. But if he got to Roman whenever he hadn't broken, the streak hadn't been broken yet, I feel like it shouldn't have broken in the first place. So I felt like that was kind of, I never liked that. So I wouldn't want to end the streak, but I definitely would want to beat up John Cena, to quote AJ Styles. So I'm going to take that. We're going to switch over to Raw. So Raw, a few days ago, Dragon Lee attacks Gunther and wins the attack. Usually people attack Gunther and then he ends up just getting them into a sleeper anyways. Gunther doesn't get any offense. What does it mean for these two? I honestly don't know, because Gunther is really stuck in limbo right now, because they're kind of doing this thing where it's like, oh, Gunther is a bad guy and he's taken out, AJ Styles and John Cena and Goldberg. He's the career killer, but he doesn't have a set up feud at the moment. And Dragon Lee, with AJ Styles gone, he no longer has a tag partner. So I think they might just be running Dragon Lee versus Gunther for a while, because these two are both stuck in limbo, doing their own thing. They're doing their own singles thing. And I actually think this, both of them work well together, which is weird because they're very different styles. But I think they're so different that it's actually going to work in the long run. We got the men's chamber. Men's chamber qualifier. Why the hell are we letting Jey Uso into the chamber? I understand they had to make a pivot because Bronson Reed, of course, tore his bicep. But even then, why not choose El Grande Americana? And this isn't me just being an El Grande Glazer because I love the storyline. The storyline could have so much more of a build if the original El Grande wins and then the new El Grande gets involved in the chamber match or replaces him before the match or something of that nature. That could have been such a cool angle. But instead, they were just like, well, guess we got to let Jey Uso win. Are we serious? I don't want them running it back in the chamber pod. I know that's the first thing they thought of too. They were like, oh gosh, Bronson's hurt. We got to choose someone else. wait, Jay can run it back in the pod? Please don't do that. As much as I like Jay, I've always liked Jay, but this would have been such a good opportunity to get another surprise win in the OG El Grande and have another angle you could build upon going into WrestleMania. Because obviously we're going to get mask versus mask at Mania. Like that's already being set up. With Bronson tearing his bicep, where does the Vision go? I mean, what do they do? What do they do? Because the Vision obviously was set up. It's like Seth gets hurt, and it's like, okay, let's have the Vision turn on him. And originally it was Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Now going into Mania, whenever Seth's going to come back, they are both now hurt. So it wouldn't really make any sense for Seth Rollins to be like, oh, I'm going to go attack Austin Theory and Logan Paul whenever they didn't have anything to do with it at the time. So I don't know what the Vision's going to do. Like I said earlier, I think Ethan Page should join, all things considered, because at this point they're just a tag team. It's Logan and Austin Theory. So I wouldn't be like, I want them to go after tag gold. It'd be cool, but at the same time, I want them to be shown as this super dominant faction as well. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I felt like Bronson was supposed to take the reins in place of Braun Breaker, but now that they're both hurt, like I literally just don't know what they're going to do with this. Hopefully something good comes out of it, but I wish him the best in his recovery. Liv Morgan chooses Stephanie Vaquer, and we are all excited about this. You have Dominic as the translator, so the promos work super well together. The build that these two are doing already is great. It seems like they hate each other, building it up perfectly. I don't really have any notes. I'm just excited to watch these two build their feud up to WrestleMania. In a backstage segment, we get Rusev versus Oba potentially in the future. And I like this because these are two powerhouses of just two different generations. Everybody knows Rusev. Come on. Like back in like 2015, this dude was cooking. He was the dominant force over, on Raw and SmackDown. I don't remember what brand he was on. It's been so long. But, he'd, stomp on the back of, on their back and then put him into the Accolade and just sit there until officials had to come down and physically tear him off of it. I hated this dude Rusev, back in the day, but now I'm quite a fan. So these two running it is going to be really cool. And I even think these two could both challenge Brock Lesnar at Mania. I think it would be super cool to have a three-way match between three powerhouses of three different generations. Oba as in the present, Rusev as in 2015, and then Brock Lesnar back, from like 2005 or whatever. Even, that was kind of whenever he was super prevalent. And he still is. But these two going at it, these three at this point, would be such a cool, different thing that WWE doesn't do that often. And the real winner of that would be the fans, if we're being honest. I think everybody would be totally down to see that. This question for someone says, if someone made a documentary about my life, what would the title be? The title would be like boring. I go to classes and I study and I make content about professional wrestling and I watch Pokemon. If we're being for real, I'm kind of a loser, but that's fine. I'm totally fine with that. Some people would describe me as a loser, but I personally love what I'm doing. I try to keep the schedule, wake up, go to the gym, go to class, eat food, come back, make content, play Xbox. That's pretty much all I've been doing. So a documentary about my life would be pretty boring. If you wanted to go back a few years, you could see how I won a state championship in bowling. That's kind of cool. I could show you how I played golf. I really don't even know what to tell you. I played basketball too. I have 2 friends that I hang out with the most. Well, 3. Other than that, I don't really have that much interesting stuff about me. So a documentary would be pretty horrible. But the name of it would just be, I think the name of it would be something like it's okay to be basic or something like that, something philosophical or something stupid like that. So that's my answer. Javon Evans in the Chamber is going to be incredible. His match versus Kofi Kingston, I knew was going to burn the place down, and it definitely did, even though that crowd sucked on Raw last week, which it won't. It won't be in Indiana because the Indiana crowds always come out. They always show out, and crazy stuff always happens in Indiana. Shield showing up, Shield breaking up. I was there. I was there whenever the Shield broke up. But I feel like this match, it was like Javon is like the new Kofi Kingston. Back whenever Kofi was, Jamaican, it kind of gives me the same vibe as Javon right now. Just the way they wrestle, how the fans are behind them, even though they're like a young underdog star. I think it's really cool to have them wrestle against each other, and he's going to go into the Chamber and just do something stupid. I can just predict it. We officially get Dom versus Penta next week on Raw. What do I think happens? So it's tough for me. But I think this is the end of the road. I am fairly certain that Dominic is losing this championship here, and the reason being is, well, first of all, every single time he defends his championship, I have told myself, well, he's probably gonna lose. Yeah, he's losing. Yeah, he's gonna lose, but he hasn't yet, so that's dope. But I don't think he loses clean. I'm pretty sure Finn Balor's going to get involved, because my prediction is that Finn Balor is going to get costed the championship by Dominic Mysterio at Survivor Series. That's going to cause, Finn to be cut off from the Judgment Day. And then because Dom has costed him the championship, they're going to turn around and Finn is going to cost Dominic the IC championship to Penta. You can let Penta have it for a long time because he more than deserves it because he's really good. But I don't think Finn versus Dom going into Mania, I don't think that's needed. I don't think you need the IC championship on top of this. I'm pretty sure this feud can grow by itself in its own little area away from the IC title. And the IC title can go off in a different direction, and he can go fight against Javon Evans or something of that nature and have this own storyline, where as if Dominic wins and they go into the feud with Finn, I understand that Finn will end up winning the championship at Mania, which would be a great moment. But at the same time, I feel like Finn Balor's made for more than that. And if he wins a championship, I want his next championship to be a world title. So I don't think they need the IC title in this. That's why I think Finn's going to cost Dom. Penta's going to win it, and that's going to immediately light their feud. Kyrie versus Io versus Raquel had a fantastic women's chamber qualifier. And I was a little bit surprised, if I'm going to be honest. I didn't think Raquel was going to end up winning because of Io being in there. But I understand why Io didn't win, because they don't want to set the tone super early of Io versus Rhea. They don't want to make them go head to head quite yet, because the fans will probably choose Io. And they kind of want to keep that tag team dynamic alive still going into Mania. So I understand not picking Io. But Raquel winning is cool because the women's match was missing the big powerhouse, which the men's kind of is too. I mean, if we look at who the men have, your big powerhouse in this match, I guess, would be Trick Williams. And even then he's more agile. He does a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, Randy, I guess, is the other one. But Bronson Reed was supposed to be the big man in this match. And of course, with him getting hurt, you don't have that aspect anymore. So Raquel winning gives that other angle of a big girl, big powerhouse in the match, which I really like, because Raquel, I think, is fantastic. And she more than deserves a world title at some point in the future. But I don't think you could have gone wrong with any of these picks. Like Kyrie, you'd have Kyrie versus Asuka in the match, which could be cool. And then, of course, Io being in there. Io's always going to do something crazy. And then Raquel just fills out this roster of girls really well. So, couldn't have gone wrong. AJ Styles Thank you. He finally, he retires, which I gotta say, I think he's more impactful as a whole than John Cena, and that's not even me being a hater. I just think for professional wrestling, AJ Styles has done a lot more because he's wrestled on TNA and Ring of Honor and over in Japan, and he's done pretty much everything you can do, and he's just built up everything he's wrestled in along the way. So I just it sucks that he's retiring, but Undertaker, the gong hitting, and Undertaker coming out to tell us that AJ Styles is your newest Hall of Famer for 2026. I thought that was awesome. It's beyond deserved for all he's done for pro wrestling. And, it sucks to see him go, but he's going to definitely enjoy retirement. This says, if you could instantly teleport anywhere for one day, where are you going first? Probably like New Zealand. I think New Zealand is my pick. It's just because I've never been there. I did a project on it whenever I was like a freshman or sophomore in high school, and New Zealand just looked really cool, and I've never been. So New Zealand would be the spot for show. These are my predictions for Elimination Chamber. So I have the roster pulled up here. I think this is pretty hard to guess. Like, I don't think I would bet on any of these matches except for one of them, which is the one I believe I'm going to start with. CM Punk versus Finn Balor. WWE is having a problem right now with selling tickets because they, as in TKO and WWE, are extremely greedy and have decided to jack up the WrestleMania prices to an unbelievable amount. So people aren't buying tickets. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to build up the show with star power, like Brock Lesnar, like CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. They're trying to build it up with star power instead of giving the fans what they want at the moment. But I will say, they give us Dom versus Finn. That's good. There's some other people as well, some other matches that people are looking forward to. But I don't want them to just look at the card and be like, gosh, well, we need Brie Bella and Nikki Bella to be at WrestleMania, because if I'm going to be honest, they don't deserve it at all. And Nikki Bella's a cougar, which I've said before, and I think she's a weirdo. But I'm just saying that I hope WWE chooses to build up matches and feuds more than putting up the high prospect, wrestlers that aren't technically and aren't really good and don't really fit in WrestleMania, but they just do it to pull in more money. But they're still going to do it with this match. So CM Punk is definitely going against Roman Reigns for the heavyweight championship. There's no way about it. I mean, they already have like billboards everywhere. And of course, like I said earlier, I'm fairly certain Dominic's going to get involved and cost Finn the win, leading to the Judgment Day breakup at Elimination Chamber. So CM Punk's definitely going to win. Not really much to say about it. This is the only one I'm like 100% on. If Finn Balor like all of a sudden just randomly wins the championship, that'd be sick too, because I love me some Finn Balor, but I just don't see it happening. The Elimination Chamber match between the women. We have Rhea Ripley versus Tiffany Stratton versus Alexa Bliss versus Asuka versus Kiana James versus Raquel Rodriguez. This is the hardest match to make a guess for, in my opinion, because you could give a strong case to all of these girls winning, except for Kiana James, probably. The only reason Kiana's not in it is because, she's really young. She hasn't really proven herself to go into that like high up women's title picture yet. But I mean, she beat Charlotte Flair, so I could kind of see her winning, I guess. But she's just probably not the pick that I'm gonna make. Asuka is Asuka, so she could just immediately be in the women's main event picture if she wanted to. I mean, she's a legend. But with what she's doing right now, she's kind of in the tag division. She's doing this thing with Kairi Sane. So I don't think that's an option. I'm looking at Rhea, Tiffany, Alexa, and Raquel. And the person I'm going to knock off of that is Alexa. The reason I don't see Alexa winning is because I think they're going to try and build Alexa versus Charlotte for Mania super quickly between the month and a half we have from Elimination Chamber to WrestleMania. So I don't see her winning, and it's down to Rhea, Tiffany, and Raquel. I feel like the most probable one here is Rhea Ripley. I could see Tiffany as well, because Tiffany never got her rematch for the title after losing it to Jade, back in October or whatever it was. It's been a long time. But Raquel's the real dark horse here, because I could see her randomly winning, and then you get Powerhouse versus Powerhouse with Jade and Raquel at Mania. I think that'd be pretty cool. The only problem is I don't see them taking a Raw superstar and sending them to SmackDown to do this feud, because it takes her away from the Judgment Day, which is like her base. So I'm leaning towards Rhea Ripley or Tiffany Stratton, because they're already on. Well, Tiffany's on SmackDown for sure, but Rhea's like a floater. She just goes back and forth. So I could see her challenging. I might switch it up and say Tiffany Stratton. I feel like it could be Tiffy time yet again at the Chamber. That's going to be my prediction, but honestly, it could go to any of these girls. I'll say Tiffy just to get that rematch going. Yeah. Then we got the Women's IC Championship, Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee. And I think AJ Lee's got this. And here's why. Normally, they don't let people who are the hometown hero win in their hometown, which they are in Chicago. But I think if you did this angle where it's Becky Lynch now chasing the IC title instead of someone else chasing Becky, like, Lyra has done and Maxine did, and, all this stuff, you could get a new kind of balance between AJ and Becky that I think could be pretty interesting for the month and a half we have left till WrestleMania. Becky losing would make her character so much better, because she'd constantly be asking for a rematch, most likely, and then AJ kind of just gets to hold it and do whatever she wants for that month and a half, kind of like what they did with Cena and Dominic whenever Dom lost the IC title, at the end of 2025, just for that 2 weeks before he immediately won it back. It could be the same thing, because it's not like AJ is a full-time wrestler. She could kind of just come in, win the IC championship, elevate it a little bit more with this feud against Becky, and that, all things come to an end, loses it to Mania to Becky. So that's what I think is going to happen. I got AJ Lee winning. Elimination Chamber match for the men. Randy Orton versus LA Knight versus Cody Rhodes versus Javon Evans versus Trick Willie versus Jey Uso. So immediately off the bat, I'm eliminating Jey Uso. He wasn't even supposed to be in the match. Yeah, easy. He's out. Trick Williams wouldn't surprise me if he won, but I still think he's still young, so I don't think he's going to be in there. Javon Evans, again, he's kind of he's been working with the Americanos and then against a bunch of low card random people. So I don't think he's going to win, but he is going to do some crazy stuff in this match. I'm looking at Randy, LA Knight, and Cody Rhodes. The only reason I'm not going to pick LA Knight to win is because LA Knight, I'm pretty sure, might be going up against Brock Lesnar. From what I've been seeing online, I've been seeing reports that he's supposed to be the person who's going to answer the open challenge. I would love it to be LA Knight and him win the championship from Drew McIntyre. I mean, it's about damn time for LA, but again, I don't see it happening quite yet. And they're already building up the story of Drew and Cody and Jacob and Randy. So that's kind of the angle I'm looking at. So I see Randy, I see Cody, and I think Randy Orton's going to win. And the reason is because I think Cody's going to end up just entering himself into the title match, kind of what we saw with Rhea Ripley last year, whenever she was like, well, Io and Bianca, I've beat Bianca, and Io and I were in the middle of this match and whatever, so I'm just in the match now. Cody definitely might do that, and Jacob might do it as well, and I think that's kind of what they're building up towards, but I think the winner being Randy Orton would make a lot of sense. So he's my final pick. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the final question on this episode of the ZigZag. Thank you for joining me here today. If you want to, go check out my Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, all under the name The ZigZag. I tell you all the time because I want you to do it, because I want followers, and most importantly, I want to not be a broke college student anymore. So if you could do that, maybe I actually end up making some money off this stuff, and that would be lit. I want to thank you guys for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.